Tonight, the federal government entered into a shutdown because of Congress's failure to pass an annual budget resolution. I know you've been hearing about it for weeks. How much will it impact your life? We want to know what you think. Is a government shutdown really a big deal? Tweet us right now at Take Part Live, and we'll read your answers live on the air. Joining me and Kara now to discuss this are contributing writer for Salon, David Dayen, comic and actor Cooper Barnes, and political analyst Peter Matthews. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. This shutdown will not affect Social Security. It's not going to affect Medicare payments, but there are still a lot of ways it could impact you. That's what we're discussing in the first part of our panel, So What? And here are some of those ways. If you were planning on taking a trip to a national park, you could forget that. They're going to be closed, and that goes for the Smithsonian museums as well. If you were hoping to hear about a government-backed mortgage, you might have to put your home ownership plans on hold because federal loan processing is going to halt too. The CDC will have limited resources to respond to an outbreak, so cross your fingers for a mild flu season. And perhaps the most disturbing part of a government shutdown is the way it will impact the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, also known as WIC. Federal payments for the program will stop, leaving states to figure out how and if to supply the money.
In fact, the reason it's there is because not only is the Congress divided, but the House is divided between radical right-wing Tea Party Republicans and moderate Republicans. And there's a big battle going on right there. And it's the Tea Party Republicans that will not give in and vote for a continuing resolution. They want to get rid of Obamacare. That's their main goal, and they're going to stick to it. And they're in safe districts. That's a problem also.
Cooper, how do you see all this?
That's just
probably not a problem.
You know, I did get some tweets from some viewers of the show. This is what people are saying about the shutdown on Twitter. Dave McNally says, it's a really big deal. I'm a federal employee facing furlough after losing 11 days of pay to sequestration. I'm not happy. I also got one here from Patrick Barbano who said, these legislators are failing at their jobs. They should be able to be fired, just like the rest of us. And lastly, here from John Lancer, who has a different opinion. The U.S. is in the fiscal twilight zone as it is. $17 trillion debt, shutting it down seems reasonable. We have to have a balance of powers in our government. We have to have a separation of these powers. I mean, what would it be like if the executive branch also had control of how we spend our money in this country?
That would include what's called an item veto, which, by the way, was in place for about a year and a half until the Supreme Court said that it was unconstitutional for the president to be able to strike out certain items and let the rest of it go through. The governor of California has that, and it actually works better to get things done. So we made look at that again, and you have to have a constitutional amendment to bring the item veto back again. But the real problem really is divided government, as David said. And at those other times he talked about, earlier years, these guys worked out compromises. They worked out on common ground, and they settled it in a few days. This is a situation where you got the right-wing Tea Party Republican Party out of so many safe districts in the Midwest and the South where they don't have to fear being defeated in the election. They can do whatever they want, and the people there will vote for them on a right-wing basis, so right-wing, complete extreme basis. And that's a problem because they don't want to budge.
Well, they're not big on compromising these days. Like, he's 5 years in, they're not going to have like a recount. Like, just
one more thing, with these layoffs, there's money being taken out of the economy, and there won't be enough demand to keep the economy, to get it going again. Right. We're in a big recession right now still. This great recession is not over yet. And if you take money out with these employees being, furloughed and things, it's a very bad situation. Making a bad situation even worse right now.
We'll have a major economic impact, probably 0.3% of GDP in the fourth quarter, something like that. But there's a cruel logic to it. I mean, Republicans were also elected by people all over the country, and they think they have a right to try to advance their agenda. The problem is that we don't have an accountable government, really.
That's true.
We have a situation where we have the ability for divided government, unlike parliamentary democracies,
system like in
Britain, Canada.
Germany,
if there was a problem with the budget, they would have another election.
Right.
And the winner of the election would get to implement their agenda. And then if we liked it as the public, we would get to keep them in. And if we didn't like it, we get to vote them out.
Absolutely.
It's a novel system.
Yeah.
One of the things many people at home, I think, are feeling right now is that during a shutdown, you might feel like things are out of your hands. There are still things you can do and ways to prepare for future shutdowns. That's what we're going to discuss in the last part of our panel. And the federal courts are going to remain open, at least for the first 10 days of the government shutdown. So if you're dodging taxes, those charges are still coming after you. What's your best advice, Peter, for people that are saying, is there something they should do differently during a government shutdown?
On an individual level, maybe they could be more cautious about how they spend their money and save more of it, but more like collectively, they have to get out there, make those phone calls, those emails, those tweets out there to Congress members and say, get on the ball. We're paying your salary. You're getting paid during the shutdown, and
yeah,
the other people are not.
But people in Congress aren't listening, though. People don't want this shutdown in the first place.
Let me
So
give you
is that
an
going to make a
example.
difference?
Those Tea Party districts where there's a one-sided vote, There's a lot of people that could register to vote, a lot of young people in college not registered to vote in those districts in the South. Get them registered to vote and say, we'll throw these bums out next time if they keep this going. And this is a record we're going to remember. They have to do it.
Do you agree the number one indicator of somebody being elected to Congress is that they're already in Congress?
Right. As far as financial reform, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the one agency that was created out of financial reform, is funded through fees. It's not funded through appropriations, and so they're going to be open too.
Peter said save a little bit extra money, maybe stash it under your mattress. Anything else they could do?
I mean, certainly the activism of calling Congress and saying get with the program.
And organizing on the ground.
And organizing is
using
probably a good thing to do.
Using your social media, use your grassroots college campuses to get people in those southern districts where these Tea Partiers should not keep getting a free ride, and they can really make a difference. Students can make a difference. Young people can make a real difference. They get organized.
Is this to put a stop to this, or just to survive it?
To clean out the house. It's time to clean house, in those districts especially, and get young people activated and motivated, and they will make a difference. Young people have led revolutions throughout the world, peaceful, nonviolent ones, mostly. That's what I'm advocating. But young people can do it, my friend. Look at those countries like Tunisia, other places in the world.
And with the shutdown happening, you can't get a gun permit during the shutdown, so it will be nonviolent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
that's a good thing.
If we can look at like one silver lining, is that during the shutdown there will only be like 2,000 gun murders next month. So that's progress.
Not to mention all the work for graphics artists who have specialties in countdown. That's a spike.
And on that note, if you are a good graphic artist, give us a ring. If you've been furloughed during the shutdown. Thank you all so much, very much for being here.
Thanks
for more information on how you could take part, log on to takepart.com/live.